PI for. We are live. Welcome back to another episode of Aussies taking over the NBA. It is a stormy Thursday night in Australia, Sydney, Australia. The rain is tumbling down outside my place. I don't know about you, Andy.
It's only trickling here.
Yeah,
Storm hasn't quite hit us yet.
Yeah, it looks a little blue, a little darkening and blue, a little glum out there. But we need the rain because it's been dry for a long time, and there's been some bushfires in Australia. So that's good to hear, good to see, good to feel. Driving home in it was pretty hectic. What are we going to talk about tonight? What have we got? We've got Joe Ingles and the Jazz absolutely flying.
Just ridiculously flying. Looks like the Clarkson trade was probably the best trade that they have made in a very long time, because that Conley trade turned out to be a bag of potatoes.
We've got some Philly. We should talk about some Philly as well.
We can
a bit up and down. Struggles, you reckon? Struggle Street?
It's not Struggle Street, man. They just got no bench at all. They're not doing anything. Mike Scott's fallen off a cliff. Their point guards, one has a bad night and then he switches to the other one. So he switches between Burke and Neto, and they're just not productive players. Burke's a pure scorer, and it doesn't really work in Philly. And then because he's not good enough to get out of his way. And then he has a bad night, and then they get Neto on, who's like a pass first point guard to the point where it's the own detriment of his shot. And it's kind of it's a little bit annoying to watch. It's a bit frustrating. But Ben Simmons has just been super he has to be he has to be in line for Defensive Player of the Year.
He has to be in the conversation, man. He's just been phenomenal. If it wasn't Ben Simmons, and wasn't this whole quirk enigma around the fact that he doesn't shoot the ball, he'd be easily in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, and easily in the conversation for All-Star, possibly making an All-NBA team. That's all I can say is watching him is probably one of the real highlights of this season, just the way he's growing. The jump shot, you're still just it's weird, but the defensive, a couple of the stops he had in a few of those games last week, this week doing it again. Philly has been a little bit up and down. We should start with Philly. They had a win the other day for us against Boston.
They won to Boston. That was a good win, and then they had two losses on the road to Indiana.
Indiana's a weird team, though. Do you reckon that's a sort of weird matchup for Philly?
I mean, with no Embiid against Indiana, I think Sabonis and Turner kind of just go to town. Philly keeps sticking out with Pell, who's obviously is a two-way contract signing this year. It doesn't make sense in a lineup with he's a dunk spot center specialist. He's a good shot blocker, but in the pick and roll float game, probably doesn't do it enough. If you're on the floor with Simmons and you're doing an Embiid style, you need a Robin Lopez style center. You get Bolden out there who can defend the block, but also can shoot the three ball. That's what you need. You don't need Pill. Look, man, all fairness, I think Brett Brown's probably tenure is under threat. I don't like how he's playing this team at all. It's a lot of going to Harris in the fourth, and if Harris doesn't fire, it's game over. And Harris is not a consistent enough player in the fourth to really do that. And then it's Ben Simmons having to win games based on defense alone. He's won games based on defense and hasn't shot the ball. It was funny in the game today, they played, and I watched this game live. Shows you how.
Yeah.
What
a crazy week. We've had crazy 2 weeks back at work. Philly, Brooklyn.
5 assists in the last quarter on 5 fouls, yet managed to run Spencer Dinwiddie off the line 3 times, get in front of him and not let him lay the ball, and led to 2 turnovers and an interception without fouling the player. It's brilliant to watch. And you go on the forums and you hear all the he needs to shoot. We're never going to win a championship. People need to be reminded that MJ, Kobe, and Shaq and LeBron didn't win their first championship till they were 27. And Curry did not win their first championship till 27. Embiid's 25. Simmons is 23. You've got to think there's upside. You've got to ride those two. You've got to get the right players for them. I don't think Horford's the right fit in the team in the starting 5. It's just too much paint. They kind of need to get a good wing. Covington would have been perfect in this.
Yeah, just a guy that
just that's the guy that you would have wanted. The 3 and D player that can play the small forward, and Tobias can rule at the 4. Josh Richardson's had terrific upside this year as well, so that was a good trade, a sign and trade, obviously on the back of Jimmy Butler pissing off to Miami. But this team has still not got the depth of bench. But we haven't seen the right bench players, I don't think. I think that Korkmaz really has to step up. Ennis is productive and unproductive at times, but Mike Scott's just completely fallen off a cliff, man. It's Brick City. It's embarrassing to watch. He used to be such a confident 3-point shooter. Now it's Brick City. And it's a guy that also doesn't give you a lot of, advanced defense late game. So, but it's saying that the upside of Tybal is that you just get stupid defense. Like for a shooting guard, I think he played small forward today. He had 4 blocks. That's absurd.
That's nuts. Yeah, 4 blocks. That's crazy. Who do you get as well?
Kyrie, I think Dinwiddie, Levert.
Joe Harris.
Joe Harris. No, it was Crooks. Joe Harris didn't play today.
Yeah, it says here Matisse Thybulle blocks Joe Harris's 26-foot jumper.
Oh, maybe.
3-pointer too.
It's just absurd.
Yeah,
that
was a good pickup for sure.
It was a good pickup. If he ever develops an inside game, that's you let Shamet go, obviously for Harris and Boban, but that's the kind of player you want. It's like that 3-and-D long player. But yeah, Philly, I think they've still got to work out their game. Embiid, I'm hoping he comes back. 1 to 2 weeks, I think, is pushing it. I think it'll be closer to 4 weeks out. But it gives Simmons, I think, time to work out his game a little bit more.
So let's talk about Embiid being out. That's a huge blow. I mean, if we're looking at what are we in January? When's he going to be back?
I don't think it's going to be a bigger blow as people think it is.
Nah.
Because when Horford is primed to play the center and get out of Simmons' way, right? So the last 4 games, Simmons has been scoring 20 points in the first half, and then you can see in his game he's been backing off the second half because he's essentially the functional scorer in the first half, and no one else has been shooting. And you look at his assists, I think he ended up with 11 assists today. In the first half, he had 1 assist. And so the second half is like, I can't bring this team home from scoring. I need to get these guys going. And you see him pass, and I think I watched that Pacers game the last half, and just passing to brick to brick to brick. I think they were about 6 of 37 or something by the end of the night from beyond the arc. It was turgent to watch.
Turgent. Detergent.
Yeah, detergent.
Just getting up the box score now. Now, so you don't think this Embiid thing is an issue?
No,
I mean,
I don't think it's.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
I don't think it's an issue for regular season. Remember 2 years ago when Philly went on the 18-0 run? That was without Embiid and Ilyasova playing the 5.
So I'm looking here at no, I don't want week by week. I want month. So what are we at now? We're at the 16th. We've got, you reckon a month he's out for?
Yeah.
So he's out for a month. That takes us through to February. Do you think maybe
still got 2 months?
It takes early March when he's sort of back. Do you reckon back to we need to see Embiid sort of getting back into his stride again? Because we had a similar situation last season with Embiid having a little bit of an injury. Was that mask year last year?
No, that was
he had some sort of injury, a knee injury or something at the end of last year.
Yeah, that was knee injury, and then the screaming shits in the playoffs.
So that came very close to the playoffs. So I'm wondering if maybe a break for a month and a half with some rhythm will get him right come playoff time. That's sort of what I'm thinking. It's not necessarily that the team in Philly has to play without Embiid at some point if they're going to play without him. You know what I mean? If for some reason he goes down at any point in crunch time down the end of this season, they're going to have to learn how to play without him. Do you feel I feel like Ben Simmons kind of works better with Horford and Harris?
He does. Because they become those spot up shooters. Embiid's just too big, man. He's such a big human that when he works his way into the paint, it's kind of like you can't really have anyone else in there, but you can kind of have Simmons and Horford, Simmons and Harris, but Embiid, you just can't get out. Everyone has to just clear the path. And And you've been seeing sneaky late double teams into the low post because his ball security late game is pretty poor as well, because he's always trying to back down, and teams find it very easy to go in for the double pinch, and then you force him to a reckless pass. Whereas I think Harris needs to become that late game, Richardson needs to become that late game, and Embiid and Simmons are really those defensive stops that just annihilate guys from scoring. And you've seen that Simmons do that time and time again. I if he's not defensive player of the year, I don't know what is.
It's gonna be pretty close, man. If he keeps up with this these steals, the level of steals, the way he's able to just smother dudes, it's phenomenal to watch, man. But the reason, like I feel like Horford runs better pick and roll, and if you want Ben Simmons to get the best out of his offensive game, be able to kind of corral the spacing on the floor and the lanes, you don't necessarily want him to shoot the ball, but I still feel like Horford works better in pick and roll situations than Embiid. Like, it's not a knock on Embiid, but it just works better. Like, I watch it and I just go, this seems to work better. Horford seems to understand spacing better. He's a reliable guy. You can sort of toss the ball back out off a screen too to shoot the three ball. I mean, I don't know, like the meme portal really for Embiid is like, why is he shooting threes, man? Why is he shooting threes? But he's just a dude who can score all round. Whereas Horford, I feel like if he's shooting a three, usually it's a good three, and at the same time, he doesn't demand offense. Like, you're not going, Horford, we need to go to you in crunch time, so like be ready. You know what I mean? Whereas Embiid, you got to be like, Embiid, you might have to take some crunch time here. I don't know if Embiid's really that's in his wheelhouse really yet.
I don't think offensively it's in his wheelhouse. And I was saying this off, when we're talking behind the scenes. When was the last time a center, like a big man center, not a small, fast mobile, a big man center took a team to the finals? Shaq, really?
Shaq, yeah. Yeah, Power and Kobe.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, yeah, you've got your main guy who kind of, is the main, like, not necessarily the main part of the team, but it's a part of the team. And you're right. I don't know, like, I like Embiid for what Embiid is, but I like his offensive game better if he wasn't a superstar type guy. Like, if he had the sort of, not humility is not the word, but like the offensive stature of Horford, where it's like, I don't need to take the ball if I don't have to. I can do other things. But it's Embiid too. Like, you've just got to go, he's the star. Like, you're obviously in his corner trying to get the team, focused around someone as big as basketball personality as Embiid. Like, I just see it sometimes and go, oh, it's a bit sort of like a love-hate type of relationship, especially where Simmons is concerned. Like, I feel like Simmons runs that better pick and roll with Horford, and it gets him going a little bit better. The other thing too, like, we should talk about like how Pell is in this team yet Bolden isn't. I don't know. Is there's something weird about that to me?
There's something going on because Bolden's not playing in the G League, and he's not suiting up for Philly. So I think they're probably offering him as a trade piece around the league for deadline as part of a package deal. That's my thinking, is that he's going to be some part of some last minute package deal to get a 3-and-D player in. But he's kind of like the perfect 3-and-D player for the team already. Like, he showed that last year when he scored 27 off 7 of 9 shooting from against Minnesota. And it's just like, these commentators, having a crack at him.
That was good. Yeah.
What does this guy think he is, Steph Curry? It's just like, this is the guy that can do that. He showed that preseason playing for Australia, and then he goes back, and then it's just radio silent. I think he played 2 minutes this year.
It's a worry, man, and especially with Pell coming into this team. If that wasn't happening, you would just think, okay, like, there's an avenue for Bolden. But if Pell's playing and not the worst minutes in the world, I'm not watching that just going, wow, like, how is he getting minutes over Bolden? I'm kind of going, yeah, this is actually fitting this team quite well. Like, it's a bit of a worry, man.
So I don't think it fits the team when Simmons is on the floor, because you've got two guys that can't shoot the ball. You need to have a stretch 5. Embiid's a stretch 5 when he wants to be. Bolden can play a stretch 5. Horford's a stretch 5. Why are you playing a guy that's a dunk spot specialist?
Maybe is that having any kind of effect on Philly's offense? Like, maybe giving Harris some more spacing, because we should talk about Harris as a closer. I'm just not feeling it. Like, if this
He played,
team,
he played well today. Hit some big shots down the line today.
but even
Uh,
if this team gets to any kind of crunch, second round playoff, Eastern Conference Finals, I'm just looking at Harris and just being like, I'm not putting money on that guy to get you through to a finals. You know what I mean? Like, I just in crunch time, I'm just like, I do not feel good about Harris in crunch time.
I would agree with that sentiment. Quite frankly, he's not a pure scorer off the dribble. Seems like he has to either get into the lane and get to his spot or spot up.
Mm.
He can't create a three ball off the ISO. Doesn't seem like he's he's an ISO player, but he's not a Kyrie ISO player.
He doesn't have that smooth shot creation that you'd probably want
No.
on your closer or your main scorer.
I think Josh Richardson has that, not this year, not next year, but maybe the year after. I mean, he's only 26. He's definitely scoring the ball a lot better.
I think low key, I think he's been pretty good. Like, I think better than expected. I was kind of expecting Mike Scott level of just he comes off the bench and hits some shots, but actually he's been pretty good. Like, I still, between him and Harris, it's a bit like you're still searching for something there, type of thing.
We all know the elephant in the room, and if Ben Simmons can ever create any kind of outside game, it's game over. It really is. The world is broken. You have Embiid in the low post. You have Simmons shooting from outside, and you have all these fantastic plays in between. And it spreads the floor. It gives Embiid the ISO because they don't have to double team Simmons. They can't double team Simmons because he's a threat. Even at 33%, he's a threat. Then it's game over because this team is just too strong and too big for any team to beat. But while they can't do that, they match up poorly with some teams, and they match up well. I think they match up quite well with the Celtics. I think big men inside, Horford played really well. I just don't think they have Daniel Tice is an okay player, but he's no Horford, and Enes Kanter is no Horford either. So in the East, you're probably looking at Turner and Sabonis as being your big threats, and obviously the Lopez brothers with Giannis running at the point at the Bucks. But you wouldn't really think the Celtics, the Heat. I think probably too many rookies.
I don't think Jimmy Butler has the clout really to take them all the way to the finals.
Not the finals. I definitely think they'll be up there postseason.
But he doesn't have the clout like yet. Like, that team needs probably something else before he's going to take that team to the finals, type of thing.
I definitely think they could do it if they had one more player.
Yeah, but that player is going to have to be like a high caliber player. It's not like it's not like Jimmy Butler and a supporting crew is going to take that team to the finals.
No.
Anything else on Philly first? Do they have a trade to make? Trade?
They do, but I don't know what that is.
No, you don't know.
They're working out Jeff Green, so I mean that wouldn't be a good.
No, please don't.
Why?
Jeff Green? I think it needs to be someone better than that. I think it needs to be like the
They've
caliber of like a Clarkson trade.
Yeah, that's not a trade. He's a free agent. They can just sign him.
Okay,
minimum.
Include like bringing in someone into the club with the caliber of Jordan Clarkson has fit this Jazz team, which seamlessly moves us through onto the Jazz when you're ready. If you don't have anyone,
I don't.
No, I don't know who, man. I don't know what fits this team, because it's just a weird sort of mishmash of players. But the Jazz, man, yeah, the other flagship team, the Aussies, doing really well. Joe Ingles, just smoking Joe Ingles at the moment.
Do you want to read out the stat that will blow everyone's mind? I've written it down.
Do the voice as well.
I'll do the voice. All right, ready? I've written it down on my phone, and this is going to blow everyone's mind. Ready? Since December 11, 72 players have attempted at least 75 three-pointers. 71 of those players are shooting below 50%. Joe Ingles is shooting 53.8%.
That sounded like Law and Order. These are their stories. But just smoking Joe. A little rope-a-dope to start the season, coming off the bench. Just having a little party time after his World Cup exploits. He did have a fantastic World Cup. Very arduous kind of, a lot of games, a lot of time. Now he's had a little bit of a rest. I feel like he's just found his groove again. He's come back into this team. Mike Conley's been out for a couple of games. Is he back yet? No. He's not
No,
back
I
yet.
think he's got a couple of weeks. Look,
Yeah,
best pick and roll team in the NBA,
definitely.
hands down. Clarkson fits like no other because they needed just one more score off the bench. I don't think they have the bench production. Clarkson's that. Look, man, they could go to 60 games this year. They could. Like, this is the year potentially they could do the 60 games.
I'm a year early on that one. Damn.
Early. I don't think Conley fits in this team at all. I think that really you just have to play him in a minor backup role and let them do what they've been doing. I mean, Mitchell's been playing phenomenally well. Bogdanovic is the right player.
And then like Ingles and Bogdanovic just fit perfectly, man, because you don't need those super athletic guys when you've got a guy like you got two guys like Bogdanovic and Ingles who are just fundamentally so sound, skilled, and can both kind of handle and find guys. Like, it's the perfect foil. I don't know why it's better than last year. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm like, it's better than last year. Like, well, how does it make sense?
It doesn't make sense, but it was funny. Bogdanovic had one game where he'd scored like 33 points and had no rebounds, no assists, no steals, and no blocks.
Yeah, it's nuts. Because he can
Just
be that guy who's just a spot up shooter. He can kind of create a little bit like
it's
Joe.
kind of the Clay. It's kind of like the Clay Thompson of the Jazz. You know, just a couple of dribbles or just picking up and spot up and score 40 points in 28 minutes. But yeah, man, I think running Mitchell at the point's probably the best thing you can do. Mitchell's grown as a player, and the Jazz are on absolute fire.
Yeah, it's interesting too because we've had our sort of grumbles with Mitchell, like the way he's played in the last two seasons. You come away from that sort of thinking, this dude needs to just pass the ball more and find guys. Like, why? Like, it's crazy. But at the same time, like, the level he could hit if he was in like a bum team with no guys to find, like if he was just a one-man band, you'd probably just go, yeah, this is great. Like, how good is he? He might
James
be,
Harden.
yeah, he might be one of the best players in the league in 3 or 4 years. But at the same time, now he's in this Jazz team, and I feel like now he's sort of fitting the team better. Like, just going, oh, right, I need to find guys here and there. I've got, Bogdanovic and Ingles, one wing. I think it's fitting better, man, and I like to see that for him because, but you and I were both like, dude, just give up the bad shots and start tossing the ball around a little bit more to make this team better. And I feel like he's doing that this year, and it's good. It's good to see.
It is. Yeah, no, and they're getting good minutes out of Georges Niang, Emmanuel Muide, and Tony Bradley's playing some good backup center. So I thought that backup center position would be definitely one that was, of concern.
Problem, yeah.
But I mean, Gobert's pretty robust, so you're lucky in that fact. You got a seven footer that plays 82 games and plays deep minutes. So that's
it kind of fits too. Like, it's weird. We started the season just going like, this guy doesn't fit. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, he's slow on the perimeter. Even trailing downhill a little bit this season, he struggled. But now it's like it's all working again. Like, it's just so strange.
because they're all slow. It's Bogdanovic's just slow.
Yeah.
So it's just slow mo. The whole team, smart pick and rolls, good shooting. 53.8% is just nuts.
For Donovan Mitchell, so he's averaging 4.4 assists per game this season. What was he at last year? 4.2. So he's made a step up slightly from his first season, 3.7, and then last year, 4.2. So he's at 4.4. So I think he's making that leap. It feels like he's making that leap.
Well, he's also playing more point guard now, so you'd see that go up as Conley stays off the floor, whereas Conley typically played point earlier in the season, and Donovan played at the 2.
He's playing 42% of his minutes at point guard and 58 at shooting guard. So, yeah. And then if you look at Jeff Green's played some power forward, and then Royce O'Neal's playing a little bit. I feel like Royce O'Neal's played a little bit better this season as well.
More production, probably because he's getting more minutes.
And then if you look at Joe Ingles, this season he's playing 64% of his time at shooting guard, with Bogdanovic playing most of the time as small forward. I feel like also that's an underrated sort of thing where last year and the year before we kind of felt, how good is it that Joe Ingles can kind of just slink to being a power forward who hands the ball? Like, that aspect, he's on one wing playing power forward. Now he's kind of slinking to being a guard and being oversized, sort of playing that slow-mo point. And you're like, okay, this works too, and maybe a little bit better because they got that mirror in Bogdanovic playing small forward. Yeah, no?
Yeah, I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I was just
But
thinking in my head,
I still like even last year, man. I still was like,
boomers.
I don't like Joe Ingles at shooting guard. Just doesn't work for me. Like,
It does. Yeah, it didn't work, but I think in this team it does. I think
yeah,
you just got to let them spread the floor. But I'm just boomers. Ben Simmons
boomers.
running the point. Patty
Yeah.
Mills shooting lights out like this year. Joe Ingles shooting lights out.
Mm.
Um, Jock Landale at the four. Jonah Bolden at the four, who can shoot the three ball, and then big balls, Baines blasting buckets at the five, just hitting threes everywhere. Man, I'm salivating.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. We should quickly just go on to Dallas. You missed out, old mate Ryan Brokoff, still injured. Nothing, no updates or anything.
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Tibia fracture.
it's a
It just
shame,
sucks, man.
man.
Yeah, it is. But KP looks like he's going to be out for a while as well. They're still winning with Luca. Look, I'm sold on Luca, but I'm also not sold on Luca.
Yeah, I can feel
Like
that.
it's I think it's a lot of tricks. Like there's something else behind the scenes just doing these things like puppeteering, because Rick Carlisle has embraced the three ball. I think that's one thing I've seen this year from the Mavericks. Last year was like, no, we don't shoot threes. We play conventional. We play this. But no, it's just like, no, spread the floor, shoot the three. Um, Luke is good, but Simmons shut him down. Even though they lost that game, Simmons just completely shut him down. It's just like no point guard will defend him hard because he's very smart and he'll get the fouls and get them off the floor quickly. Whereas I think Simmons kept him to nothing or 2 points in the first quarter. It was just ridiculous watching him defend Luca. He couldn't do anything.
Yeah, 19 points, 4 of 15. Mainly lived at the line, 10 of 12 from the line. So if you take away those free throws, he only has 8 points, 9 points basically.
That's it. And you look at, I think the stat for Simmons on this is that the top five players on opposing teams have shot a total of 14 out of 60 against Simmons directly.
That's nuts. That's another stat that's blown my mind.
14 out of 59. So it's like 30%. It's ridiculous. And I think Luca's one of those players that I just don't believe postseason will work.
He's got,
Do you know what I mean?
got a party going on in the background there.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife's partying on the TV in the other room.
That's good stuff. Yeah, nah, sorry to ruin your train of thought there with that.
So I was getting into my Zen thought
Yeah,
mode.
keep going. Find it again.
I find it. It's the regular season where teams just like, oh, we'll take an L, or I don't know, he's going off, or it's just the postseason. I don't think he's a sniper like Kawhi. I don't think defensively he will work in the final minutes, and I think he's a lot of pressure on a dude that's still very young. He needs 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
I think 5 years, get his craft better, get the right pieces in that team. They still haven't got a good center. I think Boban's good, but I mean, he's more of a freak of nature than an actual NBA center. Get that guy.
How long is Porzingis out for?
I'm not
I'm
too
just
sure. I
looking
think
it up now. But he's a weird sort of he's a weird unicorn type player as well, even though he's like the unicorn. Upgraded to questionable as his return nears. He's just playing like a stretch five anyway. So you're right.
yeah.
The Powell Porzingis thing's a bit weird still. I don't know. Like Lucas just got such sneaky athleticism that you'll never see just the power and explosiveness in his game propel him to something great. Like it's always going to be finesse and smoothness. So it never looks the same as someone with the power. Like wow, Ben Simmons is shutting people down. Like that's power and explosiveness, and that makes you like really appreciate it. But I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. Like I like Luka, but he's going to be like 3 or 4 years away from winning a championship, and they've got to put some more dudes around him in that team.
Yeah, I think even with KP's still young. I think I think everyone wants to jump on this train now, but yeah, it's a 4 year process. I think even for Dallas at this stage. Let's move on to big balls, bangs, blast, and buckets.
Yes,
And the latest rumor is that the Clippers want him.
The Clips.
The
That would
Clippers
be
want him.
very interesting.
It would make a lot of sense
Mm.
because in a floor where, I mean, Montrezl has the ball, and don't get me wrong, but he's still a dunk spot inside specialist. And Ivan Zubac is still young, so I think they're looking for that center that can stretch the floor.
Is it Ivan or is it like Ivica or something like that?
Ivica.
Yeah, it's a weird.
I call him Zubat.
Yeah, Ivica, Zubat, Ivan, but I like that. That's Russian Zubat.
I am Russian Zubat.
I
Yes.
am Ivan Zubac. He sounds like a mafia character. Yeah, you're right. They don't really have that center like the main guy where you're just like he's gonna be that guy. So Bainesy kind of makes sense. Is Bainesy, maybe not high profile enough for the LA Clippers team, who most likely is a chance to go to the finals?
I think he's the exact piece because he's $5 million a season, and the Suns could potentially get a good trade deal because the Clippers want to win now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You know where we're going? We're going to the trade machine.
We're going to the trade machine. I would have to say that you'd want to send someone you'd probably send Shamet and Zubat for.
Do you want another center though? Like, do you want to keep a center maybe? Suns.
No.
Where's the Suns? What the
Suns. So you swap a center for a center plus a shooter.
Phoenix.
And a second round pick.
So what are we doing? Bainesy here, 5.4 million in salary. Yeah, the Clippers are kind of got some weird salary guys. Maybe a Jeff Green. I think he's got a no trade clause though. Try this trade. This trade is successful. Jeff Green, power forward.
But I think no trade clause. I would go Zubat and Shamet.
I don't know if I'd give up Zubac though. Like, I think they need three centers really. That team, because they've got they don't really have an array of power forwards that, it's Montrezl Harrell, and that's kind of it really. You know what I mean? Like that's your power hustle guy, and that's it. And then you got Zubac who can kind of protect the rim a little bit. And then beyond that, like I don't know if I'd really trust this team. Rodney Magruder, man, get rid of that. Trash that piece. Yeah, I'm in. Magruder for Baines, done. This trade is successful.
The Phoenix Suns obviously want something out of it. They've got to get something out of it.
Yeah, true. You're right. That's true. We're not living in Benjamin Black's make-believe land where we just trade things willy-nilly.
That's it. So that's why Zubac has some upside for the Suns, and Shamet is a good piece, and a second-round pick for Bainesy, who's on an expiry deal. You'd take that trade any day of the week because you'd have to think that Phoenix aren't probably going to make the playoffs as we predicted right now.
Oh, he's got a trade exception, Bainesy.
Does he?
Interesting.
What's the exception?
Use 5.4 million available from Tobias Harris. Interesting. The trade still went through, man. Just dump Magruder. Try as hard as you can to dump Magruder for Baines. I'm in.
Magruder and every first round pick from here to Kingdom Come.
Definitely. Because the Clippers, I think, are going to be pretty win now the next couple of seasons.
Yeah.
But
you think Baines is probably good for another couple of years as well. So you'd want to hope that's. But he's a target for them, and we probably talk about the Phoenix Suns now and how trash they are.
They're just gone back to what we thought they were. They are who they thought we were. They were. You know what I mean? Like, I like the team though. Like watching this team doesn't make me go, man, what is this? And it like even the level up from that of like this team's going nowhere. Like it's kind of, you're just like, I see what this is, but there's just not enough defense in this team. Like there's a lot of run and gun. And then you kind of got the Rubio factor again. Always go back to it. I'm just like, I don't like watching teams with Rubio in them. It doesn't make sense unless it's Spain.
Yeah, his assist level is great, but
to me, it's still a net negative on offense. Like you should just be saying, if you're the coach, to him, just 2 shots max. You take one, you take another, and then you take another one, and I hook you, and you don't play again. Like, that's what I'd be saying. 10 dimes is nice, and I'm sure a few of those are DeAndre Ayton, and DeAndre Ayton's had to come back and sort of come off the bench and sort of reestablish himself. Saric went through this little phase where he wasn't playing too. Like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
He also looks a little bit like you know, do I really want to be in this team? Sometimes, like you watch him out there and you're just like, does this guy really want to be in this team? He'll brick a shot, bad defensive rotation. Someone will bark at him and just be like, oh yeah, sorry about that, boys, and just sort of run up court a few times a game.
Yeah.
I like Oubre as a hustle guy, but Oubre always feels like he comes from that school of fake hustle where I'm all hustle, and you're just like, yeah, but what about in crunch time? Oh, too much hustle and nothing happened. You know what I mean?
Just unintelligent hustle.
Yeah, not necessarily that. It's just like, but what are you really made of? And then you know those people that it's like insecure hustle where they're just hustle because that's their game. And then when you really peel them back, you're just like, oh, you're just like insecure under here. You're an insecure baller. Or like, why are you projecting this aura of hustle? That's how I feel about Oubre. I'm sure if he got to the finals and won something, I'd just be like, it's all about that hustle. What a legend. They did beat the Phoenix. That was a good win for them going down the list here. They lost to Atlanta. I did see actually a few minutes of this game as well. I'm just having a look at this. That feels like an old-fashioned just like, shoot him up, shoot him out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just Trae Young versus Devin Booker. Let's see how far away from the bucket we can actually score this thing.
Trae Young, 36 points, 11 of 25, 9 of 11 from the free throw line, 5 of 12 from 3. Devin Booker, 12 of 23, 39 points, 2 of 4 from 3, 13 from 13 from the free throw line. And then you look around that team, and then there's nothing much else there. There's Baines, he only had 4 points. DeAndre Ayton had 20 points, and Bridges, Bridges has been all right. Played 33 minutes in this game. That's good.
Yeah, but Atlanta has been so bad. They've been the worst team in the NBA, I think.
I think Warriors have been, man.
No, look, the Warriors are an enigma of the fact that Atlanta has paid players on their team.
They're paying these guys.
They're paying these guys lots of money.
It's just the Trae Young show, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bit
like
of a
Trae, just take 40 bad shots a night. Who cares? Just take 50. Oh, can I have 60, coach? Yeah, 60. No worries. Take them. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. It's doing anything. It's just Trae Young he's finding himself. And I'm like, yeah, but it's just bad, man. Like, I don't know what we're doing with that. Like, I feel like Phoenix at least has something going for him. But again, like, to compare him to the Warriors, like, I still feel like the Warriors just can't win games because they're not that good.
Yeah, but they're not, though. That's it. And D'Lo is
injured.
He's injured, but he's not robust, is he, at all? He's always injured. And he's a good offensive threat, but defensively, he's just trash. And that's not going to fly in Steve Kerr's look. I think they'll probably take that first round pick, D'Lo, and send it elsewhere over the summer. But I don't really know what you're trying to get if you go on State as well. Like, what are you trying to get for D'Lo in that first round pick?
But then in general, like, it's like you get Clay back, you get Curry back. Draymond Green, this is the season where it kind of proves that without those elite guys spacing the floor, like his power just diminishes. Like you lose his length and strength and his savviness inside because he's tossing it to bums who can't shoot the ball. You know what I mean? Like you kind of lose that as your linchpin. And then, I don't know, do you build the linchpin around Draymond with your shooters and add in shooters, or do you galvanize the fact that Draymond can't do it all with a center? Like, it's just, I don't know. I feel more and more as it goes on that the Warriors were just kind of like smoke and mirrors. And that's how they were winning. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is new and interesting and different, and it just managed to stay far enough ahead of the general curve of where the NBA is going. Yeah. But now it's like, all right, you take these two things out and the whole, like it's a house of cards, the whole thing falls over, you know?
Yeah.
And we look at the Lakers, man. The Lakers are just so long and strong and powerful that's like, you would never go, oh, we went from basically 4 sort of really sort of, evenly sized guys playing all size small ball to now you've just got like so much length in LA. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird, like the NBA is taking a weird turn in terms of like the trend on how teams are winning games.
I think the game of the month's coming up from my mind, which is the Lakers play Philly, because that's really length versus length. And we'll see how that...
length versus length. They lost actually today to Orlando.
They did. Markelle Fultz, man, he played really well.
Crushed it.
This is my theory, is his mum coached him into losing and being trash at Philly so he could get out and go to a bum team and excel. Because really, Philly got a first round pick when they shouldn't have.
So let's go back to that draft, because a lot of people like the
They took
Fultz.
Tatum. They could have taken Tatum.
Yeah, but do you really take Tatum if you got Ben Simmons?
Tatum's the next draft. Yeah, of course you do. Power forward.
I don't know if you do, man. It still feels like they're too good to have on both, like for both of them in the team.
No, because Tatum's kind of a low-key guy. He just does what he needs to do. He's not really a give me the ball. He's just like, oh, I'll take the ball and I'll do something with it. Where Simmons says, give me the ball.
You're not taking Lonzo Ball.
No.
Tatum's probably your guy. Josh Jackson, I don't think would fit that team, even though he's been pretty decent. Sorry, I'm thinking De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is a point guard. You're not taking him. Jonathan Isaac, you're not taking him. Markkanen, you might take as a flyer, but that's not a first round. And then you're looking like Frankie Smokes, Dennis Smith, Zach Collins, you're not taking him. Malik Monk, Kennard maybe, but is he a number one? No, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's the other thing too. The snapshot of where Fultz was in that draft. It's a worthy number one. Like it's not a Anthony Bennett style number one where you're just like, who the hell? Like what? Why did you take Anthony Bennett? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but you look at Fultz's college role as well, man. He looked good. Like it's like, all right, you play. He looked good. You play Markel at 1, and then you play Simmons at the power forward and Embiid at the 5, which is like, this is ball handling to the max. But obviously it didn't work. But that's my theory. This whole shoulder thoracic outlet syndrome was just his mum saying, right, tank, get your value down, get traded to a team that's probably not going to do too well, and then build your stock back up. Because it really looks like he's shooting the 3 ball at around about 32%. So he's not completely turgid. Like, he's average, but he seems to be getting better. But he had a 21-point triple-double against the Lakers. So that just shows you that they beat them. 21-point triple-double. He took them to the promised land, although they didn't have Anthony Davis in this game.
Yeah, I think, how long is he out for? I saw him; he wasn't there the other night too.
He's always out. He's another guy where you're just like, you're going to pay him 202 million for a guy that's not robust.
I kind of like, at some point, the league really needs to go. These dudes are going to play 70, 72 games. That's just it. Sorry,
No,
you're going to have a couple of weeks off. 65
games, add another spot to the roster so they can bring up another center or whatever, another player. Because it's just like, all right, load manage. You don't. No all-star players play back-to-backs. Like, why do you need to play 2 days in a row? I mean, Simmons and
I understand it. Like, from a business and commercial standpoint, you're like, yeah, okay, it makes sense. The NBA wants every player to play every game all the time. But in terms of, like, how teams are going to win, you're going to have your best player. Like, we saw at the end of last season where both of those teams were just gassed to the max. Injury city, injuries left and right. And it was basically the Clippers falling over the line, even though Kawhi was basically on one leg. Steph Curry's out there just like, all my dudes are gone. Like, what? I can't do anything. I don't know, man. I don't know who's got to take the L here, whether the players have to or whether the league just has to go, all right, let's try and work with the promotional aspect of the NBA to let these guys have some nights off.
Yeah. Oh, you know? I completely agree.
I don't like the animosity. Like, they're just, what about the kid who's just come 30,000 miles to watch this guy who misses out? And I'm like, dude, like, you know, everyone always goes to that. Like, I came to see the best players. And you're like, oh, man, like, how about we just have no animosity to guys who sit out games because they literally can't play 82 games this season because it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's a lot of games.
It's always the big men. You never see a point guard who's, 82 games, can't play 82 games. It's the big men. And, if that's what their bodies can handle, that's what their bodies can handle. Or it's Kawhi who's, obviously got some knee issues and wants to, prolong his career and can show you that he can win finals for you.
He's got such a low-key personality that no one really cared that he just took time off, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're exactly right. But it's the same. If you want to see a good product at the end of the season in a championship series or in a playoff series, they need to rest. Period.
It's all about recovery.
Let's move on to the Spurs.
Yeah, we'll blow through the Spurs real quick. Back to Spursy land.
Back to Spurs. One spot outside the 8 in the West. They have really upped their three ball shooting. I think they went from 23 attempts per game at the beginning of the year. Now they're up around the 32 attempts per game. So I think Pop has embraced the three ball, which plays into Paddy a lot more. Man, he's just continued that form into the NBA. I think his points per games are way up this year. Still coming off the bench, still flying around the court. Good to watch. And then the Spurs just blow random teams out by shitloads. Like they mashed Boston, and then they chunk to someone else, and they'll mash that. It's erratic basketball.
It's really random, isn't it? It's just all over the place. I can't, and then I'm getting more and more again. I go back to when I was so happy. I remember I was so happy, just like I want to see how DeRozan works in this. And then after 3 months, I was just like, I just can't watch this anymore. It's the same over and over and over again. I don't know where they can go really with DeRozan. 22.6 points per game. And now it's their cornerstone, but really it's like, I don't know, DeRozan and LaMarcus, it's kind of, I don't know, like to get away from those two guys, you're going to have to blow this team up, and I don't think they're a team that's just going to blow it up.
Pop's always made his career by drafting guys at low levels and building them into good players. That's essentially what he has done. Ginobili, Parker, they were all low-round picks. I'm not sure where Tim Duncan was at. Where was Tim Duncan at?
That's going way back to when I was a kid. Draft. First? Yeah, first round.
First overall.
I should have just guessed and said first.
Yeah, I mean, probably one of the best power forwards of all time, so you'd expect him to be up there. But I bet Kawhi was late first round, wasn't
he? Kawhi, I think, was like about 20, wasn't
he? Yeah, so, I mean, he's got a knack for picking up good picks. 15. So you'd expect him in the next couple of drafts to draft well and potentially start looking to build that up. But there's been glimmers of guys that have been good. I think they let Davis Bertans go, which was the biggest mistake that they had. But I think that was Pop just not embracing the three ball. Look, I think if they don't make the playoffs this year, I think that's the end of an era. And I don't think Pop's back there next year. What about you?
I don't know. He's getting old though, man. You know, his wife passed away last year. Does it feel like grumpy old man basketball?
It does, massively.
And not that's no disrespect to Pop. Like, he's one of the best coaches. Plus, like, I don't know how that off season at the World Cup kind of affected. Like, it feels like Popovich and Kerr like have taken that into the season. Really, it has no bearing on their season at all as club coaches, franchise coaches. But it kind of feels like an extension of that, really. Like the malaise just translated through to the start of the season for their franchises.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But the American team was just a whole bunch of new guys that had never played FIBA basketball before. And, you know, it wasn't the right team to pick as well. That's the other thing. They didn't pick the right team. They didn't play the right style of basketball. And they got pinched for it. All right, let's
finish on the Thon-Troit Pistons. That's what I was going to say, the Thon-Troit Pistons.
Thon-Troit Pistons and then Cavs. We can probably wrap these two teams
Cavs,
up.
Damn, forgot about the Cavs.
That's all right. We can wrap the Pistons up. You know, Thon's been... I don't like Dwayne Casey as a coach at all, although he has been playing Rose a lot more and starting Rose finally. It's just bad basketball, man. It's not picked. It's Andre Drummond bitching. It's like...
And a lot of strong trade rumors there too.
Well, apparently he asked for a max extension at the end of the year, a max contract, and they offered him way less than a max contract, which is what I think he's worth. I don't think he's worth a max contract. But I think he wanted to be Detroit for life and get that max deal. They haven't drafted well. They haven't picked up well.
It's a mess of a team, eh? Like, really is. Thon had a really good game against the Bulls, though. 4 or 5, 10 points. Solid.
He's looking better. He's looking better in stretches. Their plus minus when he's on the floor is better than average. And I think that you're just hamstrung by Blake Griffin's contract, who won't be back this year. And so this team is just going to be nothing for 5 years, really, at least 5 years, which is perfect for Thon to build his craft. He's still young. I think that he will end up getting an extension or a qualifying offer. I think his qualifying offer is around 3.8, isn't it?
Yeah, they did beat Boston today. It still feels, man, very just Thon could be out of the league soon. To me, scary to think.
I think he's doing a bit better. I think that with Blake Griffin down, and if there's trade rumors around Drummond, he'll have to. They'll need him to be part of the system, and so will Dwayne Casey. So that's my thought. Let's finish on Cavs.
Blake surgery.
Yeah, he's out indefinitely.
Yeah. No timetable. Wow, that's crazy.
He won't be back. He won't be back this year. I honestly think he'll retire. I mean, he's got 3 years left on that deal.
You're not retiring if you've got 3 years left on that deal. I hope it's not another like Bosch situation where there's a whole like they get stuck with his cap and he becomes untradeable or unmovable, and like it's horrible to think a player's career ends like that. Especially someone like, we're not looking at someone who's trash in Blake Griffin. Like, he's had some memorable moments in his career.
Last rookie All-Star. Blake Griffin.
Ben Simmons? No. Get it?
No,
Remember when it was Ben Simmons? Rookie? Second year rookie?
Yeah. Second year. No, he didn't get All-Star in his rookie season.
But this every year's a rookie season?
Yeah.
That was a good meme. Even though it was against Simmons, it was still a good meme. The Cavs, let's quickly, because the Cavs did play against the Pistons, 115-112 win in overtime for the Cavs. Kevin Love is like looking a little bit better.
Kelly had 9 assists in this game as well.
Tristan Thompson had 35 points in this game. Jesus, 15 of 20. They got crushed inside. 4 blocks for Thon, 25 minutes, 3 points. This was nuts, this game. Coconuts. 35 points for Thompson, then 20 points for Garland, 19 for Sexton. They must have been running some crazy dive action for Thompson. Drummond, 23 rebounds, 8 assists for Brown. Nuts.
It was an interesting game down the stretch. It's one of those games you could.
Exum didn't play in this game.
No, he sat a couple of games with a niggle. I think he was back today. But yeah, man, the Cavs just existing.
It's unwatchable, man. It's really hard to watch. I'm just trying to think. I did watch one of their games the other day. I saw some of it. Maybe it was one of last week's game. No, it was the Denver game. They beat Denver, and it was just like, what? What is even happening right now? It was weird, man. Kevin Love played really well. Kevin Love's the weirdest, like, man, Kevin Love played well, and then you look at the box score, and it's like, what? 16 points, 7 of 20. Like, he played really well. Like, what? This doesn't make any sense. And then Sexton and Garland. Sexton played really well in this game, actually. He's just Donovan Mitchell. Colin Sexton's just like Donovan Mitchell without the size. But they are such a weird team, man, the Cavs.
Yeah, they're definitely a team that's just been thrown. It's a ragtag. It's kind of like it's just where draftees go to end their careers, or when tradees go to end their careers. You know what I mean? I don't know. They've got 4 guards. I don't know what they're going to do with them. 3 young guards. Exton's been in the league for a few years. Delhi, and then really nothing at any of the other positions worth mentioning.
Yeah. Do we need to mention anything else about the Cavs?
I think we just wrap it up from here.
All right. We should.
We should preface that with saying that we'll be doing our half seasons reviews over the next week and a half. We're going to start off with Cavs, bringing that out early next week.
Yeah, the old Delhi's 3-ball revival. We should talk about that. Mate.
Yeah, we'll talk about that flaming piece of garbage. But yeah, we'll be bringing out mid-season reviews of all the teams, all the Aussies and giving you advanced stats and the likes. So stay tuned for that.
Yep, and as always, you can like, share, and subscribe all the way up the side there. Twitter, Facebook, AusnieNBA Takeover on YouTube, on Podcast Addict and iTunes and SoundCloud, on any RSS app. Are we on Spotify? Did that thing say we were on Spotify?
I don't think so.
I don't know how to. We should actually look into putting that on Spotify.
We should do Spotify. Do you get paid?
Put another. I don't know. Who knows? I can put another icon on the little dashboard there.
Hold on. I'm searching right now.
Remember that podcast where the guy looked up how to put it on Spotify? Well, I was just watching women's football on Foxtel.
Yeah, no, we're not on Spotify. That's all
No.
good. We'll figure out how to do that.
We'll work that one out. And as always, we will be back very soon. So take it easy, everyone.
See ya.
There it goes. See ya.